everyone! It's finally here, my analysis of Sana and Akito's relationship for Volume 3 of the manga. Thank you for your patience, this video has been in the making for a while. Before we dive in, I want to make a quick announcement. I am now on Patreon, so if you would like to support me in the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. No pressure though. I'll leave the link in the description down below. Now without further ado, let's take a look at Sana and Akito's relationship throughout the duration of Kodocha Volume 3. After finishing Volume 2, we are left wondering what in the world happened to Tsuyoshi, as he has not shown up for school and neither has his little sister. In the first few pages of Volume 3, it's revealed by Akito that Tsuyoshi's parents are getting a divorce. Sana and Akito decide to go to Tsuyoshi's house together to see what's going on. They confront Tsuyoshi's dad, who is extremely apathetic and gets hostile when Akito provokes him. Akito gets hit in the head, and after leaving the house, Sana takes care of the bleeding on Akito's forehead. As Sana wipes the blood from his forehead, Akito reaches out and touches her chest. Disgusted, and rightfully so, Sana kicks him and pulls away. While this moment is mostly humorous, it's another subtle expression of Akito's maternal attachment to Sana. Unlike the kiss, which is also a bit humorous but more romantic, this moment isn't something I thought much of when I first saw it. But thinking about it and everything that leads up to it, it's another moment where Akito felt so overwhelmed by Sana taking care of him that he felt he needed to take action, albeit a very inappropriate one. Akito decides to go visit his dad, who is still in the hospital, while Sana tags along. They are surprised to see Tsuyoshi and they're eating apples with him. After this, they go to help Tsuyoshi, his mom, and little sister move into their new apartment. Sana reflects on how bad it must have been having to live with his dad. When Sana and Akito and Tsuyoshi are away from his family, he begins to cry, thinking about how he has to be strong for his family. Sana offers help, which noticeably irritates Akito. Tsuyoshi asks Sana to marry him, and Akito kicks him in the head out of jealousy. After Tsuyoshi heads home, Sana contemplates how fathers can be different while riding home with Rei and Akito. Akito then asks her what her dad is like, and Rei tells Akito that it's not a good idea to ask about her father. Sana explains that she doesn't have a father, confusing Akito, who learns about Misako's marriage earlier in her life. The man she was married to is not Sana's father, so he's left wondering what the real story behind it all is, and so are readers. When Sana arrives home, her friend Aya happens to be waiting for her. Aya is extremely concerned about how Tsuyoshi is doing, and we find out shortly after that Aya has a crush on Tsuyoshi, after announcing it to the entire class. Akito encourages Tsuyoshi to be with Aya instead of Sana, obviously wanting Sana all to himself. Aya gives Tsuyoshi some cookies, and he immediately falls head over heels for her. Akito excitedly thinks about how he has no more rivals in love for Sana, finally. Summer vacation has arrived, and Sana's class has an upcoming school field trip. As Sana prepares for the trip, Misako sits down to have a talk with her. It's revealed that there was a promise kept between the two, that both of them became famous so Misako could start writing a book she had been planning. This conversation seems to make Sana uncomfortable, and we are left wondering what the contents of the book will be. While on the bus with her classmates, Akito notices that Sana seems to be lost in thought. He comes over and tells her to snap out of it, and lets her know that his dad is out of the hospital. As Sana begins singing with the other kids on the bus, Akito watches her with suspicious eyes. Later that night, after all the other girls had fallen asleep, Sana heads to the restroom. Akito and Tsuyoshi notice her walking by, and Akito looks at her with concern. As Sana is pondering her mother's book, Akito comes up behind her and asks her if she is okay. Sana gets irritated by this and tells him not to ask such personal questions. Here we can already see that Sana is still not ready to really open up to Akito about her sad thoughts. In fact, she hasn't really told anyone else about her worries at this point in the story. Akito tells her that he was just asking her if she was okay, and says he has noticed that she's been more distracted. Sana comments on how perceptive he is, until they are interrupted by the sound of the teachers partying nearby. On the last day of the trip, the students and teachers all gather around a bonfire by the woods. Sana thinks about how she's been having trouble sleeping, and wonders if she'll be able to sleep that night. Sana sees a firefly fly past her and begins following it into the woods, with Akito watching her nearby. He notices that she disappears and follows her out of worry. Akito reaches the edge of a cliff and wonders if Sana fell down when he starts falling down the cliff himself. He lands on Sana, who asks him if he had fallen down the cliff too. It's hopeless for the two of them to try and climb up the cliff, and the class is unable to hear them shouting for help because the music was too loud. As Sana and Akito wait for them to quiet down, Sana worried that Akito might try to touch her inappropriately again, to which Akito tells her he won't do anything if she doesn't want him to, even though this does nothing to quell Sana's nervousness. After some awkward silences, Akito starts to tell Sana what he wanted to tell her the other night before they were interrupted by the teachers. He tells her that he thinks her happiness and cheerfulness is just acting. Sana replies with the idea that everyone does this and that it's not something uncommon. She then tells him that she feels pressured to act so happy all the time when Akito says he knows something is wrong. Sana doesn't know where to begin or how to tell him her feelings because no one had ever asked her that before. As Akito tries to get it out of her, Sana starts crying and reveals that Misako is writing a book about her. She's worried Misako hates her and that her life is going to be destroyed because of the book. Akito doesn't quite understand the weight of the situation, but reassures Sana that her mother doesn't hate her. He also tells Sana that he knows a parent can't just hate their child, because Sana taught that to him when she pretended to be his mom. Afterwards, Akito says that even if things end up broken, it couldn't be something that is unfixable. Akito tells Sana about the quality time he spent with his dad and sister and giggles thinking about the conversation they had about Sana. Akito thanks Sana for making it so his family is finally happy together, and tells her that she doesn't even seem to realize how big of a deal that is. Sana sees how much Akito is opening up to her in this moment, and seems impressed that he is trying so hard to be this way with her. Akito then lets her know that if she ever needs anything or a shoulder to cry on, that he is there for her. Sana laughs at how corny Akito is being, and Akito exclaims that he is being totally serious. Sana thanks Akito for his kind words, and for the first time we see Akito genuinely smile. It's not only a big moment for readers, but also for Sana as well. Sana tells Akito that his smile was cute, and he gets extremely flustered, not wanting to do it again out of embarrassment, but claims that he has nothing to smile about. As Akito runs away, Sana chases after him and delivers one of my favorite lines in the series. "I was running past the fireflies I had dreamed about, and I didn't even see them. I had seen Hayama's smile, which was rarer than any firefly." After Sana returns home from the field trip, she keeps herself busy and her mind off Misako's book, most notably rehearsing for the annual Komawari theater play. One day, while her and her friends are at the pool, Akito and Tsuyoshi overhear her telling everyone that she will be shooting a commercial with a child actor named Naozumi Kimura. The other girls describe Naozumi as gorgeous and handsome, which seems to irritate Akito. Skipping ahead to the commercial shoot, we are introduced to Naozumi officially, and he reveals to Sana after the commercial shoot that he knows her secret. Naozumi doesn't go into detail, but explains that he has the same secret as she does. The day of Sana's play has arrived. Naozumi mingles in the crowd and asks Sana's friends if she has a boyfriend, to which they reply that she is close to Akito, which shocks Naozumi greatly. Naozumi finds Akito in the audience and sits next to him. After everyone watches Sana perform in awe and the play reaches its conclusion, Naozumi turns to Akito and asks if there's anything that makes him great. Akito replies with, "Not really," and Naozumi tells him that he isn't a good match for her because of that. After the play is finished, Akito watches Naozumi and Sana in anger. Shortly after, he is approached by their always cheery principal Naru, who takes note of Akito's natural ability to do a karate chop. He asks Akito if he would be interested in learning karate since his friend is opening a dojo, and Akito agrees. It's implied that Akito's response to the principal has to do with his reaction to Naozumi's comment that there's nothing that really makes him great, or in other words, stand out. Once again, we are reminded of Akito's lack of self-esteem here, which we saw more frequently in the previous volumes. With the added layer of his romantic feelings for Sana, he decides that starting karate would be a good idea, since he not only feels that he needs to be up to par with Sana herself, but also wants to feel like he is doing something that makes him worthy of being alive. At this point in Kadocha, Akito is still healing from his trauma with his family, but he is now at a point where he is establishing his own identity, moving away from the one his family and classmates gave to him for all those years. Misako finds out that Naozumi grew up at the Kimura school, which is related to the secret that he was alluding to when the two met at the commercial shoot. Naozumi asks Sana if she is really okay with her mother publishing a book about her life, and Sana becomes emotionally overwhelmed when thinking about it. She remembers how Akito said that he'd be there for her, and she begins to feel better, thinking about how his words are giving her strength. Sana and her friends are headed back to school after summer break. Sana asks Akito how karate is going, but he refuses to talk about it. Tsuyoshi tells Sana that so far karate has been really boring, but it seems to be giving Akito more self-confidence. I think Akito doesn't want to talk to Sana about karate yet because he feels the need to learn something that will impress her. Sana meets up with Akito in class and tells him that her mother's book will be coming out tomorrow. He apathetically tells Sana that she can go to Naozumi about it, and Sana mocks his jealousy due to the rumors that her and Naozumi are dating. The next day, Misako's book releases to the public. It's revealed that Sana's mother found her abandoned on a park bench as a newborn. When Sana turned 5, her mother told her the truth about her early circumstances, and the two made a promise that they would become famous through their work to try and find Sana's birth mother. Everyone who knows Sana that is reading the book is stunned by the content. Akito seems especially distressed by the situation, and contemplates the time when she pretended to be his mother, and wonders how she felt when she was doing that. This is one of the most powerful statements early in the series, in my opinion. Up to this point, we were very focused on Akito's life and how it was impacting him, but it wasn't until now when we have to stop and think about what Sana has been hiding behind her smile. The build-up to this line delivered by Akito is incredible, as these events still make us wonder what's truly going on with Sana's deeper emotions, but it doesn't really hit readers hard until Akito brings it to the forefront of the story. This is one of my favorite moments from the series, as it really conveys the duality of our two main characters. Part of the intrigue of this series is trying to figure out Akito while Sana is, but sometimes Sana's own feelings can go unnoticed since she hides them so well. Akito might be the more subtle and quiet character, but I think his emotional state is more in the forefront of the story. On the other hand, we have Sana, who is much more outgoing and expressive, yet her emotions are never as clear and easy to notice as Akito's. It's this dynamic that really shows how different the two characters are, but also shows how well they fit together, as they truly are complete opposites. As the reporters gather around the Kurata household, Misako decides to confront them. She comes back inside after messing with them for a bit, when Rei asks Misako if she realizes how this is all making Sana feel. As they are fighting, Misako tells Rei that he is not her mother, and he angrily tells her the same, which makes Sana burst into tears. Meanwhile, Akito is riding his bike to the Kurata household and speeds through the crowd of reporters to get inside. He comes in and notices the tension amongst Sana, her mother, and Rei. He puts a hat over her head and the two jump on the bike as Akito speeds back through the reporters and heads to his house. Once the two are inside, Akito tells Sana that he read the book, and Sana tries to act in her usual happy attitude until she breaks down crying. Akito comforts her, holding Sana close to him. By the end of Volume 3, our two central characters have come to very important points in their lives. Akito is now working to find himself and his identity apart from the labels he was given early in his childhood by those around him, and Sana is now confronting the reality of her identity. While a person's development is not necessarily linear, if I were to compare the two on a scale, it would become apparent that Akito is a bit further along in his growth than Sana, if we take into account where they are in their journey to find their identities. For this next section of the video, we are going to use Erik Erikson's theory of psychosocial development to observe the changes of these characters in Volume 3. If you would like a refresher on this theory, I will leave a link below to an article explaining it, and of course, if you haven't already, I encourage you to watch the 2 previous installments of this video series, as I have been using the model as a helpful guide to explain Sana and Akito's development and behavior. In the 2 previous entries of my Sana and Akito video series, I went through the first 4 stages of Erik Erikson's theory of psychosocial development. For this video, we'll be focusing on Erikson's 5th stage of development, known as identity versus role confusion. This stage typically takes place between the ages of 12 to 18 years old. Even though both Sana and Akito are 11 at this point, we can still see the transition into this stage of development, especially with Akito. It makes sense considering Akito has had to mature a bit faster than his peers. During the 5th stage of development, Ari-chan argues that we are more self-conscious of our identity, and more aware of how others around us perceive who we are. After making it through the previous stages of development, we come to a point where we are ready to embrace what makes us stand out from everyone around us. The goal of an individual in this stage of development is to establish their identity, and if one is unsuccessful, they are left feeling confused and unable to see how they fit in with the rest of society. Finding your identity can lead to self-confidence and even strengthen your relationships with others, giving you the ability to form more solid and stable connections. So now let's take a look at the identity versus role confusion stage that can be applied to Sana and Akito in Volume 3, starting with Akito. Akito's transition into this stage of development is very clear in this volume of the manga. Now that Akito has resolved his family troubles and is starting to see his own self-worth thanks to Sana, he begins to question who he is and how he fits into the world. This is also emphasized by the comment made by Naozumi that Akito will never be a good match for Sana, because there's nothing about him that makes him great like her. Akito jumps at the first opportunity given to him after the principal notices how sharp his karate chop is. This is where Akito realizes that this is a potential interest that he would be able to strengthen, and could become part of his identity to make him stand out, or as Naozumi put it, make him great. According to Ari-chan, the fact that Akito immediately jumped at a chance to work on this part of his identity would be considered healthy. It's also worth noting that Akito's willingness to open up more to Sana means this as well, since during this stage of development, part of finding your identity is relating to others in a more meaningful way. We also see this in his family interactions, which have become much more positive since the previous volumes. As of now, we can see that Akito is doing the best that he's ever been in life, which is interesting as it coincides with the turmoil Sana goes through at this point in the story. During Volume 3, this is really the first time we see Sana at her lowest point. Her relationship with Rei had left her heartbroken, but it was something that she was able to overcome within a few days. As this situation relates to her birth, it's been something that she's been carrying with her whole life, keeping it a secret from everyone. As Sana transitions into a young teenager and is having this secret revealed to everyone around her, she is terrified of the impact it will have on her relationships with others, particularly her mother. Even though Akito could pick up on Sana's turmoil early on, she was still hesitant telling Akito why her mother's book was so upsetting. We will explore this stage of development more with Sana in the upcoming chapters, but I did want to explain that this is the beginning of Sana's real struggle with her identity and ability to be close to others. While Sana made a name for herself as a child actress, she never really made a name for herself, so to speak. She was such a good actress that it carried over into her personal life as well, which is noticed by Akito during the field trip. Because of Sana's traumatic birth, she had a hard time showing the more vulnerable sides of herself, as it stems from a fear of abandonment. It makes so much sense considering the fact that we are at our most vulnerable as we are entering into this world. Being told at just 5 years old that you were abandoned in a park as a newborn has to be devastating. This brings me back to Akito's question after reflecting on Sana pretending to be his mother. How did she feel when she said that? It is never clearly stated how Sana felt back then, but I can imagine it probably made her reflect on her own situation, and could explain why she fought so hard to mend Akito's broken family. She understands the pain of feeling alone, carrying a pain that no one else knows about. While these two characters are typically opposites, this is one thing that they do have in common. They both understand what it feels like to be abandoned by their family. This causes both Sana and Akito to struggle with their identity, mainly because of their family circumstances. Akito acts as a bully because he was told he was a monster by his family at a young age, and Sana acts as a happy child all the time because she is too afraid to show the more vulnerable sides of herself. As mentioned before, we will explore more about Sana in the 5th stage of development later on, since she is just starting to deal with her childhood trauma. Sana and Akito's bond is now stronger than ever, but the two still have a lot to overcome within themselves. Akito is doing his best to shine as his own person, while Sana is about to confront her traumatic past. As the two grow closer, we are also left wondering if or when Sana will fall in love with Akito. It's not always easy to pinpoint the moment when you fall in love with someone, and this is especially true with Sana, as she keeps her most vulnerable emotions deep inside, to the point that she doesn't even realize them herself, a coping mechanism she has used all her life. She is also still entering her teen years at this point, so she is still developing her identity right behind Akito. At the end of Volume 3, we are hopeful that Sana can overcome this lifelong burden, and that she will be able to open herself up more to everyone around her. We are also hopeful that Akito can continue to stay on the right path so he can create a positive future and identity for himself. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and please let me know your thoughts down in the comments, or let me know if I missed anything. As always, please like and subscribe for more Kodocha videos in the future. Be on the lookout for part 4 of this video series later this year. See ya!